Hello. Yeah, I hope people can hear and see me and all the rest of it. Thank you so much, Virya Jyoti. I'm very touched by what you've said, and it's yes, reminds me actually of part, significant parts of my journey. Going to work and live in the community fairly briefly at Taraloka. And of course going on my ordination retreat to Akashvana for 3 months in 2017. And it does really help me to remember, that I feel brought, or the Dharma has brought, Dharma practice, my Buddhist life brought the taste of freedom into my experience. And I want to sort of try and describe a bit about what that's actually about for me. I was actually going to just go back a week ago. It was actually a week ago that, in fact, I'm going to do this, I think. I'm just going to time myself as well, because otherwise I'll run over time, I'm sure. Okay. I've got this already, and then I'd lost it again. Okay, here we go. Yeah, no, I'm going to just say that it was a week ago when Virya Jyoti asked me to sent a message to say, would I do this talk? And I responded immediately with a yes. And I think it was because I had a sense that morning, it was about midday when the message came through. And that morning, I'd actually gone through a sort of an experience here on my own in my isolation of actually having a taste of freedom, is what it felt like. In that my practice, it was a reflection actually on what had happened that morning that I'd been writing in my journal, and it had kind of transformed my experience, which had started off in the morning very negative, as a very negative experience, and I felt upset, I felt distracted, and I felt all alone, and I felt, oh, poor me, and this is horrible. And then by doing my writing in my journal, which is how I really regularly practice reflecting on my experience, I was able to connect with my higher values. I was able to connect with my aspiration to be doing something for others, not just shrinking back, as I think Walter was talking about, this kind of shrinking into this kind of self, little, small, fearful, anxious place. And I was able to kind of expand out and do a lot of recollecting the ways to freedom, actually, which is, to bring to mind the three jewels, and which is what I've committed my life now, centered my life on the three jewels. And so, yeah, it meant that I could respond very spontaneously to giving this talk, or making this talk, whatever it turns out like. It will in some way reach out, and it might help somebody else, and I can move beyond myself. So that's really just sort of trying to describe, what made me step up to do the talk. And so, yeah, when I think about what it is that brings this taste of freedom into my own experience, well, it is very much about living as fully and wholeheartedly as I can, with my attention, as much as I possibly can do, centered on the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And so I was then making some notes and thinking, well, what is it that actually is it like for me right now in my life here, living on my own again, in this lockdown situation? I'm in one of these vulnerable categories, because I'm over 70, folks. I can't even go shopping, you know. I mean, for goodness sake, I can't do my own shopping. I have to have food parcels delivered to me. I can't meet my friends and family. And these are so much, you know, these are big parts of my what I go for refuge to, that aren't really the true refuges. Actually, you know, when I do go for refuge to the true refuges, then I can find this taste of freedom. So I'm going to go through one by one. The Buddha, starting with the Buddha. Well, Virajyoti mentioned my devotion to the Buddha, the Golden Buddha. I really connected so deeply with the Buddha as a true refuge, as the you know, the archetype, the embodiment really of my highest values. What I would, you know, what I see as the you know, the ultimate example of human life at its very best, lived at its very best, and that's what I aspire to, of course, in my own way. And so here, living on my own, I've built a shrine. I've in my sitting room to the Buddha, and every morning I can go to that shrine. I light the candles, I light incense, and I place flowers and other objects on the shrine. And this really reminds me and gets me in contact with the Buddha. Going beyond myself, I can entreat the Buddha. I often entreat the Buddha to appear, and I can connect in with the fantastic support the Buddha can give, you know, because I can connect in with everything he stands for and everything he is, and I can really be transported into the company of the Buddha, and that's become an amazing refuge and resource to me, to my heart, and it inspires me to then know that I can go out and give, like the Buddha did so wonderfully, of course. So that's really the Buddha. I think, you know, I get a lot of confidence, I'd say, from you know, the ritual, the repetition. It connects me, to the many benefits of practice. So that's the Buddha. I'm going to check the time. Oh gosh, yeah. So we're doing all right, I think. So there are then with the Dharma. Yeah, well, of course, there are so many truth teachings, aren't there, to explore and experience and benefit from. And I think at this time, you know, when here I am as this sort of what you might call like a little old lady living on her own, you know, needing food parcels and things like that, I could easily sort of become, well, and in fact, the first, I've been doing this for 3 weeks now, I think it is, and being here on my own, and I think certainly for the first week, you know, I was turning to all these false refuges, these comforts, these going back to the you know, my comfort foods of childhood, which I'm still doing a bit, but you know, sleeping a lot, feeling rather heavy, feeling a bit anxious, quite anxious, because I just didn't know what I was doing and where this was all going and all the rest of it. But actually, you know, as I've settled in with the Buddha to support me, and the Sangha, of course, which I'll come to, but I think, you know, I've been able now, I'm getting into contact with the great rich treasures of the Dharma teachings, and I can revisit, I can explore, you know, books, and there's talks, there's all sorts of ways in which I can connect with the truth of the Dharma, and of course the practices, the meditation and the reflection and so on. And I've got unlimited time, haven't I? I'm actually free. I might be, you know, trapped physically, but I'm actually so free. I live on my own. I've got you know, I've got what I need here, I'm safe, and I'm free, therefore, to sort of organise the time, which is another thing that I've been having to sort of struggle with, because I can be a bit obsessive about making timetables and plans and things like that. So sort of try to find a middle way with that. But now that that's starting to settle, it actually feels really sort of, yeah, it's quite wonderful actually to have this time to either revisit or discover new teachings and new wisdom and ways of practicing, which again, hopefully I can also, you know, share with others and communicate the Dharma from my own experience and so on. So that's great, really. And so I'm now really starting to relish the time to that I've got to explore all of that. Yeah. Okay, so then the Sangha. Well, the Sangha's always been, you know, the actual community of people that I am in connection with in our Triratna communities, been the most fantastic refuge for me. I know, you know, we're talking as well about the lineage, of course, going back to the noble Sangha and the time of the Buddha himself, but as being the true Sangha refuge. But, you know, oh dear, my time's up, isn't it? Yeah, well, I won't say very much more about the Sangha other than that it's just wonderful to be able to connect, and it's freeing. It's so freeing to know that I can connect with, you know, the faith and practice of so many others at this time, which is a real bonus actually in this, you know, now that I've got used to the screen life. Yeah, and so yeah, we might be alone, but physically, but you know, I really feel we are all together. We're doing our best to connect to these higher values that will really bring us, yeah, the taste of freedom. Okay.